Hi, my name's Allison Meads, and for this course project, I decided to make a little documentary and research the idea of what it means to be a modern educator in today's society. So, for this project, I did a little bit of my own research, watched a few videos, and interviewed my colleagues, a pre-service teacher, members of our community, parents, and a teacher. So that is what is to follow. But first, I want to go in and talk a little bit about the whole process of this project and my initial thoughts going into it. When I first read the prompt of what it meant to be a modern educator, the first thing that popped into my head was technology. I think that seems to be a very huge issue today, incorporating technology in the many ways that it's changing on a day-to-day basis and the great impact that it has in our classrooms. So that was my initial thought going into it. The other thing from this course, we had to create our own mission statement. And in that mission statement, we chose a quote. And this quote is something that I kind of carried with me throughout the course of the semester, and also is a basis on the way that I went through this course project. And so that quote is from Albert Einstein, and it talks about how if you judge a fish's ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life thinking that it's stupid. And I think that kind of fits perfectly into the whole idea of education and how we perceive students to all be the same, but in reality they're not. They're very, very different, and we have to treat them differently and allow them to find success in everything that they do. And so now I'm going to present to you some of the data that I have found through interviewing various people from our community.
The first word that comes to mind when I think of a modern day educator is someone who thinks about a bigger picture. When I think about the role of a modern educator, I think about them being someone who doesn't just do business as usual. They realize that even educated people can miss important things, and that sometimes there are some gaps that have not been filled and some needs that have not been met. So they go back through and they're willing to be bold and confident and to ask questions, hard questions, to make sure that they understand that everything has been attended to for everyone's sake. So a modern educator isn't someone who just continues to do what's always been done. They're someone who leads a path to making sure everything is done well.
Okay, I think that being a modern educator means a few things. First of all, I think that it's important in the times that these kids live in to find different ways for them to show what they know. So historically, maybe students would do a worksheet or do something on paper. Now I think it's way more important to have them, give them several different chances and choices to show what they know. As much sort of hands-on, communicative or collaborative work is really important to be a modern educator. I also think to be a modern educator, finding as many appropriate uses of technology that you can is important. Kids are attached to their technology, and so any way that you can relate to them with technology, and it is an awesome tool. I'm not saying we need it all the time, but I think that that's a way that I've found as a modern educator to engage kids. What else? Oh, I don't know if this is a modern educator, but I think that constant reflection is really, really important. And I especially think that I guess in modern times, it's even more important to reflect on what you're doing and to see if it's relevant and if kids are engaged, and if they're not, then you have to try something else. So I think that reflecting is important. What else did I write down? That no one size fits all. So differentiating is the jam of 2016. Finding as many ways as you can to get the information out there, but also as many ways as you can for the kids to give it back to you and show you that they know it. I think that's kind of the main thing. Meeting kids where they're at. You have to realize when you're packing a classroom full of 30 kids, they're all coming from different places, not just in their education, but also in who they are as humans. So trying to understand that, and that's really crazy when the 127 kids walk through your door every day. But if you want to be a modern educator, that's what you got to do. So how do you remain a modern educator over time? Okay, so I think that's a two-part thing. First of all, I think it's extremely important that you continue your own education. If that's professional development, that works for you. If that means building your own professional learning community, whether it be on Twitter or Facebook or however you want to reach out to other educators, even just having professional conversations, I think is really important on like a regular basis. Just because learning and continuing to grow is very, very important. As soon as we become bored and stagnant, that's when everything sort of goes downhill. So also trying new things constantly, kind of pushing yourself outside of the box, helps to remain modern, I guess. But the other thing is not to lose touch with the kids. And so that means that you have to find a way to connect with the kids on like their level. And so find time sometime in your day to be with them without trying to impart knowledge on them. So, try to find ways if you can to lighten the mood and do something with them that makes them feel like you're more sort of a human instead of just a teacher, I guess. So there you go. How about that?
And I think that being a modern educator means staying updated on how the profession is changing. You have to do the research, you have to read the articles about how your field is changing and growing and developing. I think to remain a modern educator, you have to use those around you. So your peers, your coworkers, your kids especially. I mean, like, kids are learning new stuff every day with like social media, technology. Use the kids to like make yourself a better teacher. I think that staying up to date on technology, going to professional learning development seminars are really important. I also think that today in the education system, it's super important to teach to each individual learner, because no two kids are the same, like in any manner. Like they might have similar interests, but no two kids are the same and no two kids learn the same. So I think another part of being a modern educator is really making sure that you meet each individual student's needs, because like nobody teaches in that traditional lecture. Well, some people do, but not a lot of people do not teach in the traditional lecture style anymore, where they stand up in front of the class and make everyone take notes and expect them to understand, the material. I think a modern educator is innovative in how they get the knowledge across to their students, and just really focusing on making sure that each individual kid's needs are met.
Okay, so after hearing from various members of our community, I'd like to go in and talk a little bit about some of the research that I found, Mester, including Module 5. Module 5 kind of discussed a lot of learning strategies that teachers can use with every single student in their classroom. One is that I found to be really important as a foreign language teacher was the idea of link strategies and teaching vocabulary. That is one way to provide multiple means of representation, which breaks down the words, and it clearly defines the vocabulary words, providing pictures and audio, linking stories, etc. Also from the modules from the semester, we talked a lot about UDL. UDL to me is kind of a key, leading back to the role of modern educators. It's our job to provide students multiple means of representation, knowing that every student learns in a different way. Also providing multiple means of engagement, students from different backgrounds engaging with each other, learning from each other. The teacher is not the sole role of knowledge. And then lastly, multiple means of action and expression. So giving them multiple ways to show what they know. I think that is key. One of the huge factors that we learned about through the course of the semester. And also through the course, doing my own research for this project, there's an article by Bulgren and Scanlon called Instructional Routines and Learning Strategies that promote understanding of content area concepts. And this really got into the nitty-gritty about teaching students of all abilities and incorporating students with disabilities in your classroom. And so in order to get every single student in your classroom to perform to the level that you would like, Teachers must collaborate with their students, so really knowing their students and the way that they learn and applying both content and the skills and strategies needed for learners. This article kind of describes the role of the teacher as more of a facilitator, having students learn from each other, which I think to be a key, especially in the foreign language classroom. You want kids communicating as much as possible. Also, this article talks about the importance of providing students with meaningful experiences in the classroom. I think that is kind of our role as educators, is to prepare students for their future and to become world citizens. And I think that it's our job to provide students with meaningful experiences and things that they're going to remember, and things that encourage them to want to learn rather than seeing it as a requirement, giving students a love of learning. Another article that I found in my research to be extremely helpful on this topic was by Ann Witcher. And in her research, she describes effective teachers as those who play an active role in the lives of the students, who really can engage and have a strong student-to-teacher relationship, as well as planning curriculum that meets the needs of students. So planning for opportunities for students to apply these concepts and skills in multiple ways. Witcher explains how effective teachers encourage active student participation and make assignments relevant and important in today's society. And so in conclusion, I believe that a modern educator is somebody that knows their students and meets them exactly where they are, and helps them grow and learn on a bigger scale. A modern educator has a solid foundation and a solid relationship with their students, and knows exactly how they learn and the ways that they can help their students grow. A modern educator's classroom is not going to look like the traditional style of desks and rows, but rather it's going to be students working in groups, collaborating with each other, using different forms of technology to learn the content. I think that modern educators are going to start moving more towards the whole blended learning aspect, having students work at their own pace, using different resources that they need in order to obtain the same material as other students based off of their learning needs. I think that we're going to start seeing more collaboration, more use of technology in the classroom. And so the teacher is not the sole unit of knowledge in the classroom. Students are going to be learning from each other as well as through various other resources. And as many other people have said, and through the research, I think that in order to remain a modern educator over time, you have to realize as a teacher that you are never done learning. You're going to be a student for the rest of your life, constantly learning. Being open to change, I think, is extremely important. Not being closed off, allowing technology into your classroom, and embracing what your students are interested in, not just what you're interested in. Because what matters is the student in this case. And so we need to meet the needs of theirs, follow their passions, and help them obtain their goals and their dreams.